Today's lesson is Let's Barbecue. Hi, everybody. My name is Roger.
And I'm Helen.
And today we're going to talk about having a barbecue. And, of course, you may have already had your Mid-Autumn Festival barbecues a little while back. And barbecues can be a lot of fun. There's no reason why you can't have another one, even though Mid-Autumn Festival has already passed. So today we're going to prepare for a barbecue. We've got Zach and Elsie preparing for a barbecue. They need to stock up on supplies and they need to get ready to barbecue.
Yep, barbecues are always fun, and you can have one as long as the weather is good. I know that in the United States, it's a tradition to have a barbecue for Independence Day, so that would be July the 4th. A lot of families and friends gather together for a barbecue.
Exactly. Are you big on barbecues, Helen?
I like attending them because I like being with friends and hanging out in backyards and stuff. But as for barbecued food, no, I'm not a really big fan.
Really? I love barbecue sauce, especially when it's cooked on an open grill. It's very tasty. And indeed, lots of people like to have barbecues as well. But of course, you need to prepare for a barbecue. You can't just have it and not have done any preparations. So that's what we're going to talk about today. You need to stock up on supplies. That's the first part of our lesson for today. Let's now listen to Zach and Elsie's conversation.
Let's barbecue. Stocking up on supplies. Zach and Elsie are in the meat section of their local supermarket.
Yeah, we should definitely get some chicken wings. And what about thighs or drumsticks?
I think drumsticks are better for barbecuing. Here, these ones look good.
I'd like some beef slices too. These ones have some nice marbling.
Yeah, they look nice. Should we get some pork belly? Oh, we also need pork tenderloin for kebabs. I almost forgot.
Good thing you remembered. It wouldn't be a barbecue without kebabs.
The two friends load up their shopping cart. That should be enough meat. Now on to the vegetables. We need some green peppers and onions for the kebabs. Maybe some king oyster mushrooms too.
Good call. How do you feel about grilled broccoli?
I love it. The florets soak up the barbecue sauce. Oh, speaking of, I'm going to make some from scratch using my secret recipe, so we won't need to buy any.
Yum! I can't wait. All right then, let's head to the vegetable section.
大家好，第一部分我们看到动词 grill 表示用烤架烤，像是 Justin grilled the shrimp on the barbecue. Justin 在烤架上烤虾子。另外 grill 还有盘问或者是审问的意思。例如 The lawyer grilled the witness for nearly an hour. 律师盘问这位证人约莫1个小时。
So the first part of today's conversation is called stocking up on supplies. So when you stock up on something, you collect things so that you have a lot or enough of those things. And here we're talking about supplies for a barbecue. So they are buying things for a barbecue. And Zach and Elsie are in the meat section of their local supermarket. And Zach says, yeah, we should definitely get some chicken wings. And what about thighs or drumsticks?
Yeah, let's get some chicken wings. They're tasty. But hey, what about thighs and drumsticks? Those are different parts of the chicken. The drumstick, of course, is the chicken's leg, I believe, or the lower part of the chicken's leg. And then the upper part would be the thigh, which is where there's lots of thick meat there.
Yes, and the word thigh can be used for human legs also, the part of the leg that is above the knee. So a lot of times people go to the gym to work on their thighs because they think their thighs are either too weak or they're too fat. So you do some exercises to tone up your thighs. But here we're talking about chicken thighs, and some people prefer chicken thighs to drumsticks or wings just because the meat there tastes slightly different.
At this particular particular barbecue, they're going to have chicken wings, some thighs, and drumsticks. Elsie says, well, I think drumsticks are better for barbecuing. Here, these ones look good. So they're in the meat section of the supermarket, and they're checking out the chicken there, and she sees some drumsticks that look good for barbecuing. And Zach says, well, I'd like some beef slices too. Beef, of course, is meat from a cow. These ones have some nice marbling. Interesting, marbling. What's that referring to?
Well, marbling refers to those lines or the patterns that fat makes in lean meat. So if you look at beef slices, you'll usually see red meat that has little thin lines going through it. That's usually fat.
Right, so when they're talking about marbling here, I think they're talking about how the meat resembles marble, the stone. And if you've ever been down to Hualien, you can see lots of marble there. It's rock, it's white, or it could be black, but then it's got these delicate lines going through it. So if the meat has lines like that going through it, then it has nice marbling, and it's good meat for a barbecue. And Elsie, well, she nods approvingly. She, tips her head up and down to say, yes, that is a good suggestion. We should get some beef slices like the ones you're indicating. Yeah, they look nice. And now she's got another question. Should we get some pork belly? I suppose that's meat from a pig's belly or stomach area. And she says, oh, we also need pork tenderloin for kebabs. I almost forgot. So again, that's another kind of meat from a pig, pork tenderloin. You often get those when you have your pai gu fan. It would be a slice of pork tenderloin served over rice and vegetables.
Yes, and they want to get pork tenderloin for kebabs. A kebab is a type of dish that involves a stick, a wooden stick, and then you just stick pieces of meat and vegetables sometimes, if you want to, on the stick, and then you put this stick of food, of meat and vegetables on the grill, and you cook it that way.
And Zach says, good thing you remembered. Of course, that's not a complete sentence here, but he's speaking fast and he's speaking colloquially. It should be read, that's a good thing, or it's a good thing you remembered. Good thing you remembered. It's nice that you remembered. It wouldn't be a barbecue without kebabs. Indeed, kebabs should be a part of a barbecue. All those different pieces of meat and vegetables served on a stick. So the two friends load up their shopping cart. They've got all the supplies, at least in terms of the meat. And Elsie says, well, that should be enough meat. We've got chicken, we've got pork, we've got beef. And now we need to talk about vegetables. Now on to the vegetables. Let's get some vegetables for our barbecue.
We need some green peppers and onions for the kebabs. So for the kebab, aside from the pork that they're going to put on the skewer or the stick, they're going to add green peppers and onions as well. And maybe some king oyster mushrooms too. Now, that is a good idea. So king oyster mushrooms are those mushrooms that have a white stem and a brown cap, and they are really good for barbecuing.
Yep, they're kind of big and fat, and they will fit easily on a barbecue skewer, so you can have those kebabs. So that's one suggestion. Again, they're going to get green peppers and onions. Those are good for the kebabs. And king oyster mushrooms are good for the kebabs as well. You put those things on the stick, and then you cook them on the grill, and you're good to go. You put the barbecue sauce, and oh, nirvana. Now, here's what Zach says. Good call. That's a good idea. It's good that you remembered. How do you feel about grilled broccoli? Now, broccoli, of course, is a kind of vegetable that has what looks like leaves kind of sticking out on the outside, look like little tiny bushes or something like that. They're actually quite nutritious, and they're full of protein and things like that. And if you cook them, you can boil them, but you can also grill them at a barbecue. Of course, if you grill something, you cook them on a grill, which is a piece of metal that is on top of burning coals.
Right, so the word grill can be used as a verb. When you grill something, you're cooking that thing over a fire on a flat metal frame. And a grill is also that flat metal frame itself that you put the food on. So Zach is thinking about grilling some broccoli, and he wants to know what Elsie thinks. And Elsie says, I love it. The florets soak up the barbecue sauce. So florets here refer to the top part of the broccoli, not the stem, but the top part that's greener and that has a lot of tiny, tiny little leaves. And Elsie is saying it's a great idea because those florets, the top part of the broccoli, can soak up barbecue sauce really well. To soak up means taking in liquid. So for instance, a sponge can easily soak up water because that's what sponges do. And here, florets, because there's a lot of pockets of air in between, they're able to soak up, absorb, take in the barbecue sauce very well.
That's right. So if they don't soak up the barbecue sauce or if they don't suck it in, then, of course, the barbecue sauce will probably just drip off the surface and you won't be able to taste it. So you want it to be soaked up into the vegetable. And then Elsie is reminded of something. Oh, speaking of which, I'm going to make some from scratch using my secret recipe, so we won't need to buy any. So here, of course, she's referring to the barbecue sauce. She just mentioned it, so she wants to say something about that. Oh, yes, speaking of barbecue sauce, speaking of which, yeah, I'm going to make some from scratch. I'm going to make some myself. I've got a secret recipe, so we don't need to buy any barbecue sauce from the supermarket.
Right. So when you make something from scratch, you're making that thing from a point where nothing has been done. For instance, when you make a cake, there are at least two ways of making a cake. You can buy the cake mix from a supermarket and all you have to do is add water or milk. That's not making cake from scratch because you're using something that's already been prepared. When you make cake from scratch, it means you're using eggs, flour, butter, sugar. So if you make cake like that, you're making it from scratch.
And Zach says, yum, I can't wait. We're going to have homemade barbecue sauce. All right, then, let's head to the vegetable section. And that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson for today. Let's move on to the next part and talk about getting ready to barbecue.
Getting ready to barbecue. Elsie is in the kitchen chopping garlic and scallions for the marinade when Zach pokes his head through the doorway.
Should I take some shrimp out of the freezer to defrost?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Throw them in a bowl and put it in the fridge. Oh, and don't forget to use plastic wrap.
Got it. Hey, something smells nice. What's that?
It's the marinade for the beef slices. We'll marinate them overnight. I'm going to make the barbecue sauce next.
Is there anything I can do to help?
Not at the moment, no. But when I'm done with this, you can tag in and make the kebabs. Just make sure that you chop all of the pork pieces the same size so they cook at the same rate.
Yeah, no worries. I've made kebabs before. In the meantime, I may as well set up the barbecue, right? It'll be less work for us to do tomorrow.
Sounds good. Oh, and the grill might need cleaning, so check that while you're at it.
Will do.
第二部分我们看到动词 poke 指使伸出来或者是使探出来，像是 Bob's big toes are poking through holes in his socks. Bob 的大拇指从袜子的破洞伸出来。也可以说 The dog poked its head out of the car window. 那只狗把头探出车窗外。另外 poke 也可以指戳或者是刺。举例来说 Jim got hurt at the park when a tree branch poked him in the eye. Jim 在公园受伤了，他的眼睛被树枝刺到。另外补充一个含有 poke 在内的片语 poke fun at somebody or something. Fun, F-U-N, poke fun at somebody or something. 指的是取笑点点点或者是嘲笑点点点。例如 You shouldn't poke fun at people who aren't as athletic as you are. 你不应该嘲笑运动细胞不如你的人。或者 The comedian poked fun at a noisy audience member. 喜剧演员拿一名吵闹的观众开玩笑。最后我们看到副词 overnight， 意思是整夜或者是一夜之间。例如 Jody became a millionaire overnight. Jody 一夜之间就成为了百万富翁。
So in this next part, getting ready to barbecue, Elsie is in the kitchen chopping garlic and scallions for the marinade when Zach pokes his head through the doorway. So what is Elsie doing? She is chopping garlic and scallions. Now, scallion is another word for spring onion or green onion. And she's doing these things because she wants to make the marinade. The marinade refers to the liquid that you put food in this case, broccoli and meat, to give that food a special flavor before you cook that food. So Elsie is in the kitchen making the marinade when Zach pokes his head through the doorway. When you poke your head through the doorway, it means you stick your head through the doorway very quickly. And the doorway here refers to that space around the door when the door is open. So he looks through the door into the kitchen.
It seems like Elsie is doing most of the preparation here. She has most of the knowledge, so Zach is helping. And he's offering to take the shrimp out of the freezer to defrost. Should I take some shrimp out of the freezer to defrost? If you defrost something, you remove it from the freezer and let it sit out at room temperature for a while so it's not so hard and cold. And you can cook it. And Elsie says, yeah, that's a good idea. You should take some shrimp out of the freezer to defrost it. Then throw the little pieces of shrimp in a bowl and then put that in the fridge. Oh, and don't forget to use plastic wrap. So indeed, when you take the shrimp out, wrap all the shrimp up in plastic wrap and then put it in the fridge.
And Zach says, got it. Hey, something smells nice. What's that? And Elsie replies, it's the marinade for the beef slices. We'll marinate them overnight. So what Elsie is saying is that she's going to put the beef slices in the marinade. When you do that, when you put food, meat, vegetables in the liquid, which is the marinade, you marinate it. So the verb is to marinate food. And she's going to do this overnight. So she's not going to leave it there in the marinade for just a few hours. She'll do it overnight. Overnight refers to the time during the night or from one evening until the next morning. So she wants to leave the meat in there for quite a while so that the meat will soak up the marinade.
And then she says, I'm going to make the barbecue sauce next. Remember, that's her own recipe. And Zach says, well, is there anything I can do to help? And Elsie says, well, not at the moment. No, I don't need your help right now. But when I'm done with this, you can tag in and make the kebabs. Just make sure that you chop all of the pork pieces the same size so they cook at the same rate. Remember, smaller sized items will cook faster than larger ones. You want everything to be consistent.
And Zach replies, yeah, no worries. I've made kebabs before. In the meantime, I may as well set up the barbecue, right? It'll be less work for us to do tomorrow. So Zach is saying, no worries. Don't worry, Elsie. I know what I'm doing. I've done it before. And he also says, I may as well set up for the barbecue. So here the phrase may as well is used for saying that something can be done because you can't think of anything else better to do. So since I don't have much to do now, you don't need my help in the kitchen, I may as well, since I have nothing better to do, set up the barbecue because that'll give us less work to do tomorrow.
Or I could say, well, the plane is going to be 1 hour late, so you may as well sit down and read your book for a while. And yes, indeed, he can start working on the barbecue. Elsie says, sounds good. Oh, and the grill might need cleaning, so check that while you're at it. While you're at it means while you're doing that, you can do something else. Clean the grill. It might be kind of rusty or something, or it might have some mold growing on it, so clean that thing up. And Zach says, will do. I will do that. And hopefully their barbecue will be a smashing success. That brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Let's listen now to Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第二部分的对话里面， Elsie 和 Zach 在准备烤肉的食材。那么 Elsie 说等他做完烤肉酱时， Zach 可以接手做烤肉串。文中他是用到 tag in 来表达接手。那么 tag in 是俚语用法，去表达说接手某人目前的活动，尤其是指说让对方暂缓行动的那种，去接手他的活动。好，那么接着 Elsie 说呢， Just make sure that you chop all of the pork pieces the same size so they cook at the same rate. 只要确保你把所有的猪肉都切得一样大，这样它们烤熟的速度才会一致。好，这边有2个重点哦。第一个是要介绍 make sure 的用法。那我们可以用 make sure 来表达，第一种意思是确保务必，那么之后你可以接不定词 to be 或者是接 that 子句。那么接 that 子句的话， that 可以省略。例如 make sure to back up your work before you log off. 在登出之前务必要把工作资料备份哦。好，那么第二个呢，我们可以用 make sure 去表达确认啊、查明、弄清楚的意思。那么之后可以接 of 加名词，或者是接 that 子句。那么同样的接 that 子句的话，这个 that 是可以省略的。例如 I just called to make sure that you were all right. 或者是说 I just called to make sure you were all right. 我只是打电话来确认你没事啦。好，那么第二个要补充的重点是文中的 so， 他说 so they cook at the same rate， 这个 so 是省略字 so that， 意思就相当于 in order that， 后面要接表示目的的副词子句，去表达出以便怎么样，如此一来怎么样，这样一来怎么样怎么样。那在口语当中 so that 的 that 也可以省略。举例来说 Put on some sunscreen so you don't get a sunburn， 擦点防晒乳，这样一来你才不会被晒伤哦。好，那么接着对话里面的 Zach 要 Elsie 别担心，他以前有做过烤肉串，他就说 In the meantime, I may as well set up the barbecue, right? 好，那这边他用到 may as well 加上原形动词，这是表达说要不就做什么什么吧，不妨做什么什么吧。那这常常用来提出建议、劝告。那其中的 may 也可以换成 might， 这时候语气就会比较委婉。我们来看个例句哦。假设我们说 Brian is always late. I think we might as well get started. Brian 老是迟到，我想我们不如就先开始吧。好，那顺便补充一个相似的句型是may well 或是 may very well， 这是表达很有可能怎么样，有充足的理由怎么样怎么样。那么 may 可以换成 might， 在语义上呢，这个 might 的可能性会比 may 来得低。那这个用法呢，记住要在后面是接原形动词。举例来说 What I'm about to say may very well surprise you。我接下来要说的事情很有可能会让你很惊讶哦。好，那我们接下来要说的就是以上是今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天的单字吧。
Thigh. Doug brushed some barbecue sauce on the chicken thighs and turned them over. Grill. Kelly grilled the steaks while Peter made the salad. Soak. Quick, grab some tissues to soak up that spilled wine. Poke. He poked his head out of the window and called out to us. Doorway. She stood in the doorway with her arms crossed and an angry expression on her face. Overnight. When the children ran down to the pond, they discovered that it had frozen overnight.
Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you enjoyed reading along with us. I am Roger.
I'm Helen.
See you next time.